Hello everyone. Hi again. Welcome to another lecture on C programming. In this video, we're going to talk about arrays. Array in C programming. So what is an array and how basically we can use array in our C programming and why we use array? Why do we need arrays? So this is very important to understand this kind of concept in C programming, and also it is one of the most important topic in any programming language or C programming, C++. So let's talk. So first of all, array is a collection of similar types of data that is known as homogeneous data, and it is stored at a contiguous memory location, and we can access array elements randomly. So understand what is contiguous memory allocation and what is a similar kind of data. So here you can see that this block, the first block is connected with the next block, and this next block is connected from this next block in this way that if we just close, like we just break this block, so this will disconnect it like a bogie of train. So this is known as contiguous memory allocation. Okay, so basically the elements of an array stored in our memory are at contiguous memory allocation, and you have familiar with primary data types like integer, float, double, char, but array is not a primitive data type, it is a derived data type. What is a derived data type? So basically we, with the help of primitive data type, we will derive a derived data type we can write. Okay, so it is not a primitive data type, it is a derived data type. And now understand the meaning of same. Okay, so I'm just gonna erase this link, and now understand what is the meaning of same data type. Suppose this is an array of 5 integer. That means we have 6, suppose 4, so 3. So the each and every value becomes an integer inside this array. We don't need to write any character. Suppose this is an array of characters, so we just write here COTE. So any character you can write here. So this is a character array. So when you're gonna write an integer value, that is known as an integer array. When you're gonna write a floating point number, it is known as a floating point array. And also character array is known as a string, and we will discuss it later. So what are the characteristics of an array? So we have an array. So since this is a collection of similar types of data, suppose we want to store data like integer, we want to store the data like character, so we have an array of 2 size, 3 size, 4 size, 5 size. Though here one property is the size of an array. So here you can see that this is 1 2 3 4 5. It is a 5 size of an array. If we just put the next element, suppose here, so it will become a 6 size of array. So size of the array is also a part of properties of an array. And here also you can see that this is the index value. And what is the index value? Basically I will explain. Okay, so it may be start from 1, sometime it may be start from 0 also. So this is an index value. So when you're going to use a VS Code, open a Visual Studio Code, you can see the difference between the actual value inside the array and this index value. So the position of each and every data, each and every element, okay, suppose it is 0, suppose it is 9, so that is basically the index value. It may be start from 0, it may be start from 1. So when you're gonna access the elements of an array, you're gonna use that index value, and the data inside the array, you can use this index value to access this array elements. Okay, so now why we use array, that is also very important. Suppose in a C programming, you want to store five variables. Just you can declare it like a1, a2, a3, a4, a5. So there are five variables in C programming. So we have to declare that those variables five times, because we want to use five variables. Okay, and there are some relation between those variables, that all the data are same. And suppose you want to store the multiple of 5, 10, 15. So this kind of situation, or suppose you want to store different kind of data, suppose some collection of integer inside that variable. So but there is no any relation between those variables, guys. So why we just use uh, array instead of use writing normal variables to manage all kind of data. We will use array. So now understand what is array declaration, what is array initialization, and what is the basic difference between that normal variable or an array. So for that, I'm just going to open a Visual Studio Code. So this is our Visual Studio Code, guys, and I'm just going to create a file name. If you don't know how to create a file name, just go there and just create a new file name as array. I'm just going to write here array demo.c. This is a file name of array file name. So here, first of all, array is a linear data structure. Okay, what is a data structure? I will explain it later. Don't worry about that. Okay, structure which stores homogeneous, that is a similar kind of data. Homogeneous, okay, is that, no, it's not homogeneous data at contiguous memory allocation. Okay, allocation, contiguous memory allocation. So array is a linear data structure and it stores the data at contiguous memory allocation. That is basically the definition of an array, and it is what it is, a derived data type. That is, we just use with the help of array. Sorry, the primitive data type. We just write an array, and we can access the array elements directly. Also, what are the derived data types? Pointers. These are the derived data types, and also the other data types like user-defined data types like structure, union. So these are the user-defined data type. Now, I'm just going to write why do we need arrays. Suppose just from a program, we're just gonna write a program like h include stereo.h, sorry, stereo.h int main, and here suppose we want to write a five variable like int n1, n2, n3, and every time just going to declare some value, because it is better to practice to initialize the variable. 0 and 4 is equal to 0, so and 5, and so on. So there are five variables here. Is that here any relationship between them? No, at the memory level. And here these values are different. I'm just gonna suppose 10, it is 9, and this is 6, this is 8, again 8, and it is like 12. So there are five variables here, you can see that. So is that any other relationship between this variable to each other? Suppose the address, you know that any variable we have two part. First one is the value, another one is an address. Suppose here I'm just going to write 10 is the address of n1, and okay, 10 is the value of n1, and suppose like 1000, I'm just going to write a 1000 as address. If you don't understand that is what is that address and what is the actual data of the variable, you're just gonna watch our variable lectures. There you can understand these two things. So this is the value of n1, and here I assume that is address of n1 is 1000. Okay, same way we have a different value of for like n2 it is 20, and we assume here the value the address of n2 is suppose it is 3003, we assume. Okay, and it totally depends on compiler of which what is the actual address of the data. You're just gonna check the address of the variable, just use percent %u or percent %p. It will give the address of that variable. So here we have a different value. It was previously it was 9. Okay, so I'm just gonna again write a value 6 here, and it is nothing but n3, and here the address suppose we assume like 5000. Same way we have 8, data is 8 here, and the variable is n4, and it is okay, and I'm just going to write here the actual address, like suppose it is 2000. So and so on, and 5, don't need to write it all. Okay, so just write here it is something like 9000, and it is what it is 12. So here you can see that n1, n2, n3, n4, and 5 are variables. Which kind of variable? These are the integer variables, guys. And 10, 9, 6, 8, 12 are the data, that is the value of that variable. But when you talk about the address of those variables, suppose we assume here for n1 is 1000, for n2 is 3003, and for n3 it is 5000, and for n4 is 2000, and for n5 it is 9000. So here I'm just going to ask you, is that any relationship between, sorry, is that in relation between this address 1000 or 3003 or 5000? So is that that address stored at contiguous memory? So no. So they are not stored at contiguous memory allocation. Okay, so this there is no need like a relation between these two addresses. So first advantage of using array instead of variable is that we have the we have some relation between the address of those variables. Okay, so here that is contiguous memory allocation. And why, and another benefits is that suppose we want to store 100 variables, so we have to write every time 100 variables name, we have to declare 100 variables, and it is quite difficult to remember 100 variables name. Suppose we want to store different kind of data, so also our program becomes difficult and tedious, so it will not look like look good. So what we will do, we will use array instead of writing 100 variable names there. And now you understand what is an array, and now we're gonna just see the first thing is that array declaration. How can you declare an array? So I'm just gonna delete this part. Okay, so comment is this is our main function. So inside there I'm just gonna declare a variable. How many ways you can declare a variable? So first way is that I'm just gonna write you just have to write int, that is a data type. Suppose you want to write okay, I'm just gonna make it like common for each and every. So here first we have to write a data type, then data type, which type of data type it is. Suppose it is int, it is character, it is float, any value. And after that we're gonna write array name, and array name is same as variable name. Okay, so don't worry about that, array name is same as variable name. Okay, and here after that I'm just going to write array name, and put bracket, big bracket there, and that is a symbol we basically use for array. And here we're just going to write array size. So what is basically the meaning of that? So this is basically the first kind of declaration of an array. Okay, so understand this first. Suppose we want to declare an array int a arr. This is array. Arr means this is an array variable name. Okay, so now I'm just gonna write the bracket, and here if you're gonna write 4, that means you have allocated a memory inside the memory for 4 size of an array. Since it is an integer array, so how many? Okay, so for integer we have for each byte it is 4, and we have to just store 4 size of array, so we will multiply 4 with 4, it will give you 16. So total 16 byte, it will take total 16 bytes inside the memory. So that is basically what that is basically happening inside the memory. It will take 16 bytes if it is a 64 computer bit architecture. So here array of 4 means you have just take 16 byte memory inside the uh, okay, so inside the memory. Now you have declared a variable array of size 4. So what is meaning of that? Here just I'm just gonna write a simple example of this array. So here you're just gonna put 9, 10, 11, 12, 20. Okay, so just write. So here you can see that, and generally we're gonna write array in this way. Okay, so here suppose we just take the data 9, 10, 11, 12, 22. So this is basically the data of the f of an array. Okay, and here we have address, different address, suppose 1000. So the next address becomes 1004, and the next address becomes 1008, next become 1012. So you can see that if you know the address of first element, you can understand the address of fourth element here. So here 9 is the value and 1000 is the address, and here you can see there is a uh, relation between each and every memory memory location of the data inside the variable. And here when you're gonna declare a 4 size of array, so we just you can use this as a force of 4 variables. Instead of writing array, you can just use it is a 4 variable array. So this is the first way of declaration. And what is another way of declaration? Suppose we're gonna just declare another array. So I'm just gonna write his array 1, another array 2, and suppose we want to declare it as a size of 3. So here in this way also we can just declare it same way, we just initialize that array also. So here I'm just going to put the data 20, 21, and 22. So this is basically the data inside the our uh, array, and it is also kind of declaration, another kind of declaration of this array. Okay, and suppose you want to store the data like also you want to declare an array in this way like AR3, and here when you're going to declare the array in this way, so it will definitely it will basically stores the data inside that data, that is okay, I'm just going to write, we have to write the size of the array. Suppose we're going to just write 5, so it will create an array by default value of all the elements become 0. So here this is there are different kinds of declaration of an array. Also we can declare an array using pointer, we will discuss it later. So this is known as array declaration, and here we also initialize it, and here all the data inside the array become 0. So here you can see that. So first way, I'm just going to write a first way, that is first way instead of This is first way. So here I'm just going to declare a variable in a data array, write data type and array name and the size of array. And another way you can just declare it in this way also. And what is that? That is first you just store the size of an array. Int size is equal to, suppose I'm just going to write 9, and you just gonna write here int arr, since we have declared already declared a variable arr1, so I'm just going to write arr11 as another array variable names, and just going to write here the value size here. It will replace with 9. So in this way you can also declare the array, and in this way also you can declare array. So this is the first part of declaration. Another part is we just declare the array and also we initialize some data. So here if you understand the concept of variable, you can understand what is the meaning of initialization. So a declaration means we just give the memory and just allocate for the memory for the those array. When you're just gonna initialize it, we put some data inside that array. So here you can see that, so it will create, suppose when we're going to write int arr2, so it will create an array of size 3, and it will put the data inside as 10 20. Okay, so 20 21 and 22. Same way we're gonna just declare the array by a specific size and initialize the elements. Suppose we wanna declare the array of larger size. Okay, and suppose we want to declare array as int ar4 of size 9. Can we or I store only 4 data, that is 20, it is 8 and 7 and 6. So you can also write in this way, and here I'm just gonna specify the size of array as 9, but we only put the data inside that array, that is only 4 data. And what will the and basically the remaining data will waste, the remaining memory will waste. So that is basically the array. And here also the memory allocation inside the array is static, and that is the disadvantage for an array. And what are the advantages are, we don't need to write many times variables names, we don't need to write and we have we can access any array elements with the help of the index value of first one. So that is another kind of things. So these are the basically advantage. We can access elements randomly, and also it is easy to access all the elements. And uh, and, uh, and now let's talk more about array. So how can you access array elements? So this is all about declaration, guys. So these are the different types of declaration. You can just take a screenshot or also make notes. Okay, so these are the way of declaration of array. Now let's more talk about how can you access array elements. So I'm just gonna make a heading here. Okay, so access array elements. So how can you access array elements? Okay, so we have already mentioned about array. 1 minute, guys. Okay, so these are the here. Now, so we have mentioned about array index, and also about array index starts from either 0 or either it will starts from 1. And if so let's see uh, the PowerPoint first. Okay, so there you will understand this. I'm just gonna open our So here you can just see this is an array, and you understand what is array declaration, what is size of an array. 1 minute, where is cursor? Okay, so here we have take an array of size 5 and just write the name of arrays a r. Okay, arr, this is our array name. So here I'm just going to write int. Okay, just going to delete this. 1 minute, here is. So I have declared, suppose, 1 minute guys. Okay, fine. So I have declare an array int of integer array. Since we have to declare an integer array, I'm just going to declare it int arr 5, that is an array of 5 sides. Okay, soon we will use another notepad. So suppose we have declared an array of size 5, and what is happening here? So here this is our array size. Okay, this is our array name, and here it is called as array index. Okay, it is known as array index. It may be start from 0, it may be start from 1. It's up to you. When it start from 1, it is 1 2 3 4 5. So if array index is start from array index starts from 0, that means the last element the becomes n minus of 1, that is n is the size of the array elements, then it means n minus of 1. So since it starts from 0, so here the actual size of an array is 5, so it will become the last element position is at 4. Actually it was a fifth position, but we have to just write the index value 4. And here we have if that index value will start from 1, so it will the fifth element is at the position of fifth. So it is very important. So here suppose we have data. What are the data? Where is cursor, man? Okay, okay. So we have data like 10, 20, 30, okay, 40 and 50. So here we have these kind of data. So now I'm just going to use here that uh, this first kind of index. Okay, so I'm just going to use the index value starts from 0. So in this way you just declare the variable array arr and just write inside there the size of an array. It was 5. Okay, so in the same way we just gonna access the elements in this way also. So when you declare an array, so here this value inside the big bracket is known as the size of the array elements. But when you're gonna just like initialize that value, and after that we're gonna access is as array elements. Okay, so I'm just gonna open again Visual Studio Code, guys. So here again I'm just gonna write our another variable array name like int arr f5, our example of array of size 5, and we just gonna write like 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. So this is basically our an array. So here you can see that this is a second kind of declaration with initialization, so I'm just gonna use that. Okay, so now how can we access first element? So Suppose I'm just gonna print here printf. So it is nothing but it is it is a derived data type. Okay, so we just gonna write here the first value as ARR 0. Now I'm just gonna explain uh, the term ARR 0. Here ARR 0 is same as another integer variable. Okay, suppose we have some integer int a is equal to, okay, our previous example we have already taken int n1. So I'm just gonna copy this and paste it again there here. So here's and now 10 and 2 is 20 and 3 is 30 and n4 is nothing but is 40 and n5 is 50 guys. Okay, so now you can see that here ARR 0. Okay, so this is same as n1. So it is nothing but kind of variable. Okay, so we just gonna write here a %d for the first element. Also here, if you want to access the first element of an array, you just gonna write ARR and inside the index value. So here ARR is your variable name and this is your middle bracket, sorry, big bracket, and inside this part is known as the index value. When you declare the variable and initialize it, that is then that is basically the size of an array. When you're going to access the array elements, so inside that value is known as the array index. It may be start from 0, it may be start from 1. So if it will start from 0, that means ARR 0 means the first element. So here this printf basically print the first element. Okay, so I'm just going to write here the first element of array of n of this array, okay, is equal to %d, that is ARR of 0. Okay, I'm just going to update this value as 100, that it will look some different, and do comment all these things, but it will not give an error, so don't worry about that. And again just going to write return 0. So here ARR 0, that is basically the first element, that is basically the first element, that is basically the first element, an array element, the first array element. Okay, and 0 is the index value. I'm just gonna save this C program and run this. Okay, so it will say that that is some expected identifier. Okay, so I'm just gonna fix this, and before that, so here 100 and just print the value 0%d \n. Now okay, it is right. I'm just gonna save again and run this. So here you can see that first element of this array is 100. Okay, so you can access array elements in this way. ARR of 0, that means the first array element. Okay, suppose you want to print the second array element, you just gonna write ARR of 1. Same way ARR of 2, ARR of 3, that is a second array element. So in this way you can access array elements. Okay, and now you can see that first array element is 100 and second is 20, 120. Okay, so here ARR 0 is nothing but it behaves like an, okay, 1 minute guys, it will behave as an a variable, a single integer variable guys. So here n1 is a single integer variable, n2 is a single integer variable. So you can also use this value, this array elements like variable. You can add these two array elements, you can multiply it, whatever you can do with normal integer variables or any variable, you can do with array elements also. So here array elements behaves like a single variable. Okay, so in this way you can access array elements. And now I'm just gonna print some address. So what is address of first element and what is uh, the value of first element? So I'm just gonna write here percent %u. Okay, so that is address of AR of 0, and here also I'm just gonna write %u for address of second element. You can see that uh, the actual address. So here you can see that the address was 64221156 and the address of next element is 4 byte more, that is 60. So that's why we just gonna use that elements. I'm just gonna if you're gonna print the address of n1 and n2. Okay, I'm just gonna write here print addresses of n1, okay, and backslash n and n2, and here I'm just gonna write %d u. Okay, you don't need to write anything, and n2 for %u. I'm just gonna write backslash n there, and here also I'm just gonna put a backslash n, and just you're gonna see that address of n1, address of n2. Okay, so if you want to calculate the address you have to use this operator ampersand. Okay, already we have used this operator in scanf function, so don't worry about that. You can see that there is no any relation between these two variable. Okay, so it is showing something like it is 40, it is 36, but I'm just gonna write all the address of all the variables. Okay, so suppose I'm just gonna write here address of n5 n3. So what is address of n3 there? Is that actual difference is 8. So here it is showing that the address. I'm just going to write here the n2. Save this, sorry, n3. Save this and run this. So it is again saying it is 40 and it is 36. So you can see that for n1 and n2 it is showing different values. Okay, now see. So you can see that for n2 it is 40 and for n3 it is 36. And again, if you want to just calculate the address of n1, so here it will give you like %u, and for n1 it is also %u. I'm just gonna put a backslash in there. So it is 40, it is 36, it is 44. So not that much relation. Okay, but you can see here in this array address of second elements, address of third elements. So this is basically that's relation 18, 22, 56, 60, and so on. So that is all about. And suppose you declare another variable here into n5 4 is equal to 108,000. Suppose here and you just write n7. Okay, not so just write n here. What is the address of that n? So it will different from that. So here you can see for an array elements there is a contiguous memory allocation. Okay, so this there is a relation, but it is not sure that when you declare multiple variables then all the variables are related or not. Okay, but it is pretty sure it is always true for array. Okay, so you can access any array elements with the help of first array element index. Okay, so this is okay. I'm just gonna delete this, and you can see that you can add two array elements, suppose 4 and percent %d array elements. So what is the fourth array elements? So here 100 is the first array elements, and the when the index value is 4, that is this is the fifth array element. Since we have started from 0, I'm just gonna save this. What should be the output? It is 150. Okay, so you can see that any operation you basically did for variable, you can also do with array elements. Now this is your first part. How can you declare an array? And this is another part, how can you access array elements? Okay, now suppose you want to check the array elements index, like since we want to print the value like minus of array of 1. Okay, you just declare it and just write here. So what will be the output? So it will give you some garbage value. Uh, that means you can see that. So here you can see that there is no index out of bound checking. Okay, suppose you want to print the data like a larger size of an array of 8 elements. So it will print some random value. It is 6. Okay, so this will give you some garbage value depending upon the data. So it is saying that that means there is no index out of bound checking for C programming, and it will compile our program fine, but it will not give the actual output. It will give some random value, some garbage value. Okay, so this is not a compilation error. Now when you declare an array of give a memory of an array of only 2 size, and we're just gonna calculate it. Suppose we spray the fourth element, what is the output? So I'm just gonna compile it. So here you can see that your compiler basically gives some warning. So that is the access elements in array initialization. You don't need to access the elements 30, 40 because you have allocated the memory for 2 size array. So it will give you warning, and also it will print the random data. So it also will not give you an error. So this will basically give you the warning. Okay, so here, and now next thing is that let's understand these things also. Now, how can you source the element? So there are some things like you have declared an array, and now you want to access whole array elements. So for that, we're gonna use obviously a for loop. So here I'm just gonna write a for loop as int I is equal to 0, I less than what array of size of an array. So here I'm just taking a array size as 5. So I'm just gonna write I plus plus and just I'm just gonna print, but here percent %d and just gonna write arri, that is the access array elements. So here array behave as array elements, I is the index value, and it will replace by I. So if it was the first element, it will print as the first value. It will give firstly arr of 0, arr of 0. So it will work as the first element. When I will replace it by 1, it will give you arr 1, and again it will arr 2, and so on. And also I'm just going to mention that array internally store the index value as starts from 0 only. Okay, but you want to calculate it from 1, you can, but internally it stores from 0. So here I'm just gonna save this and run this C program. So you can see that 120, 30, 40, 50. So you can access array elements using for loop in this way. And now someone gonna ask you, you want to take inputs from the user. How can you take inputs from the user of an array? So just gonna declare an array like array 5, and suppose I'm just gonna write here 40. 40 is a very big size of an array. Suppose 4. I'm just gonna write here 4. You can write in this way also, like I'm just gonna delete all this program. Okay, if you want to take a screenshot, 1 minute guys, I'm just gonna comment this. Okay, 1 minute. I'm just gonna delete this. So if you want to take a screenshot of this array declaration, you can take it, and also for the array definition. Okay, and I'm just gonna delete all those things. How you understand how can you access array elements, how can you write a program. And now suppose someone gonna ask you print array of 5 elements. So I'm just gonna declare int size of an array, int size. Okay, so another variable, that is size, and you're just gonna ask from the user, enter the size of an array, \n. So here he will enter. Okay, so you're gonna just ask him, and I'm just gonna use scanf %d, that is address of size. And now you just declare a variable int ar size. Okay, so you can declare in this way, and now you just gonna ask him enter array elements, printf array elements. And how can you store that value inside the array? You can use an array elements like same like the normal variables. So I'm just going to write here a for loop int I is equal to 0 and I is less than size of an array. So just going to write here size and I plus plus, and here just going to write scanf and %d, and here I'm just going to write ampersand what array of each element is behaves like a array element I. So in this way you can take input from the user, and just gonna want to print the array elements, just gonna write int I is equal to 0, I uh, less than size I plus plus and I plus plus, and just gonna write printf array. What are we gonna print? We're gonna print array elements as ARR I. Why? Because it will replace the value with the array elements. And now I'm just going to write a printf enter, not enter, it will print the array elements. Okay, I'm just going to print there. So here you can see, put a semicolon, just going to control S, save this C program. So here you can see that how can you take the size of an array, you can declare it, how can you take it from the array, and just gonna print this. I'm just gonna run this C program. So it will say us enter the size of an array. We're just gonna say it 8. Enter the array elements, just enter in this way. First suppose 10, 8 elements, any 8 elements, 30, and just do practice by your own. 1, 24, 34, 56, 98, 35, 20. So you can see that 10, 31, 34, 56, 98, 25, 20. These are our array elements. So this is about array. Now we have a different kind of array. So this is a one-dimensional array, guys. You can also see two-dimensional array and also multi-dimensional array. But what are the array elements? What are the array problems? Sorting, searching are the very important programming problems using array. And there are a lot of problems you can practice with array. So you have learned enough to write program for array. Also, this is all about today lecture, guys, and we will discuss about multi-dimensional array, 2D array in our next lecture. And now thanks for watching, and also, if you want to practice more program on array, because you have only learned the concept, how can you declare an array, how can you access the array elements. But if you really want to learn, so you have to practice a lot of program on array. You're gonna just go on HackerRank website, and also you're just gonna practice on our CyberOcean Academy website. I will just give the link inside the description box where you can see a lot of programs on array, and also it will improve your programming skills. Thanks for watching, and if you like the video on C programming, so please do subscribe the channel and share this video with your friends. Thank you.